All right, so we spoke about a number of things and a number of tricks and tips to make your job easier. And most importantly, we're trying to make an impression. We're trying to create credibility with the customer. Because if there's no credibility, they're not going to want to talk to us. So we have 4 seconds to make an impression, as we spoke about. The customer is judging you on 3 things to determine if you're worth speaking to. You have to be sharp as a tack. You got to think quick on your feet. Does this person know what they're talking about? Is this person energetic and confident in what they're saying? Because if you don't believe in what you're saying, you can't expect someone else to believe your own nonsense. And does this person sound professional and know what they are talking about? So they're basically saying in 4 seconds, they're determining whether or not they want to invest the time to speak to you. Now, to keep track of it, you have to have a hard copy of the script in your hand, and you need to follow it with your fingertips. The last thing you want to do is sound like a telemarketer, sound like you're reading a script. So you need to follow the script as it's written. There are no excuses, there are no shortcuts. You need to follow the script with your fingertips, so when someone interrupts you with a question, comment, or a concern, you can address their question, comment, or concern without missing a beat. You're not fumbling and mumbling. Subconsciously trying to find your place, where you sound like, hang on a second, let me find it. Nobody wants to hear that. And you certainly don't sound professional when you're doing it. Or they don't want to hear awkward silence while you're trying to find your place. Remember, you're trying to capture their attention 15 seconds at a time. So if you're mumbling or fumbling, or you're giving awkward silence, you're eating into those 15 seconds and you're losing their attention. Whereas if you had the hard copy of the script in your hand, you know exactly where you're at. You also have to have the mentality of you're always going to win the argument. If they argue black, you argue white. If they argue white, you argue black. You flip a coin, heads or tails. Heads, I win. Tails, you lose. That's the mentality you have to have. You always have to know in the back of your mind, you're always going to win. You cannot let the customer dictate how the conversation is going to go. You have to remain in control of the conversation. And one of the ways you need to do that is be prepared with your rebuttals. You guys have been doing this long enough that you know what comes next in the script. There's only so many scenarios that are going to happen. And you've probably experienced most of them, if not all of them. so you guys know what's coming next. And if you're prepared with your rebuttals, you cannot be afraid to stand them up. You got to understand, people are going to test you to see if you know what you're talking about. Because if you don't, you're going to lose them. If you do, they're going to stay engaged with you because you sound like you know what you're talking about. The worst thing that they're going to be able to say is no. So you cannot be afraid of no. You also cannot be afraid of losing the deal. It's not yours to lose. Meaning, until you have it done, you don't have it. Now, we spoke about not browbeating them or bullying them into appointments. You got to make them see the merits of the deal and what you're offering and how it benefits them. Also, you got to come with it from the mindset that they have nothing to lose but a bit of time, only have something to gain, which is knowledge. Worst thing that's going to happen, you spend a few minutes with our client. If you get it, great. Bonus. If you don't, the worst that you did was you wasted a little bit of time and you gained some knowledge. That's the worst thing that can happen. You have to understand that, and you have to have that mentality. We spoke about age. We all know what a really, really old person sounds like. If they sound like they have 1 foot in the grave, or if they sound like they fart dust, do not waste any time with them. Hang up with them immediately. Do not ask any questions. Do not engage them. Just click, hang up. There is nothing positive that is going to happen speaking to them. I promise you. When you're filling out the web form, you have to get the spouse's name. 90% of all homeowners are married. Think about it realistically. Single people do not buy houses. They rent them. They rent apartments. They rent townhouses. They rent condos. They don't buy houses. Houses are for families. You have to get the husband and the wife's name. They both need to attend the appointment. Also, you need to get a secondary phone number and an email address. If you don't get a spouse's name, you have a 25% chance of losing the deal where they're not going to show up. If you don't get a secondary phone number, that's another 25% chance. So if you don't get the spouse, you don't get the secondary phone number, that's a 50% chance that they're not going to show up for the appointment because they're not serious. If you don't get an email address, that's another 25%. So if you don't get all three, you have a 75% chance that that deal is not going to go through and you're not going to get paid for it. It is vital that you get it. There is a direct correlation, as we just mentioned, between deals going through or not. If they don't want to provide any of it, it's a good indication that they're not sold or completely comfortable with you yet. Again, it's a credibility issue. You have some more selling to do. Stand them up and find out why they won't provide it and get them to provide it. Regarding the spouse, all appointments must have the husband and the wife attend the appointment. Otherwise, we've created what we call a one-legged deal. And if you are our client and we set an appointment for you, and only the husband is going to be there, you're going to drive maybe an hour, hour and a half across town to get to this person's house. You're going to meet with the husband and you're going to say, hey, where's your wife? Oh, she's not here. Well, I'm sorry, we're going to have to reschedule this because I need both of you to be here. They're not going to make the presentation without both of them being there. So now you as our client spent an hour, hour and a half going across town to meet this person. You spent 2 minutes in the door, and now you're going to drive all the way back an hour, hour and a half. 2 days later, you reschedule the appointment. Now you're going to drive an hour, hour and a half back out there, meet with the husband and wife, and then drive an hour, hour and a half back. That's 4 to 6 hours you just wasted in driving time when it could have been avoided. We get paid to provide accurate, complete information. We do not do one-legged appointments for this reason. So it is vital that you get both the husband and the wife. We just said we get paid to provide correct information and correct spelling. To ensure that you get the correct spelling, ask them to spell it phonetically. Mike Jones. M is in Mary. I is in India. K as in Kilo. E is in Echo. Smith. S is in Sam. M is in Mary. I is in India. T is in Tango. H is in Harry. Is that correct? Great. Wife's name is Lisa. L is in Larry. I is in India. S is in Sam. A is in Alpha. Get the address. Spell it back to them phonetically. Email. Spell it back to them phonetically. Make sure that you have it all correct. I know it sounds trivial and a waste of time, but we don't want to blow deals because we didn't spend the extra few seconds to get the right information that is spelled correctly. It ruins our credibility if we don't. Now, what you may or may not understand is that these people actually expect you to do it phonetically, because you sound like a professional, and that's what professionals do. These people are already conditioned for you to do it. So if you're not doing it, if you're not using phonetics to make sure you have the accurate spelling, the alarm bells go off in their head and they think this is a red flag. This guy's not professional. I don't want to proceed anymore. You will lose your credibility, I promise. All appointments get set for in-house appointments. We're going to call them back and confirm and verify the information. And if an appointment needs to be switched over to virtual, let us figure out how to do it. Put a round peg in a square hole. That's our job. All right. Talk about the rebuttals here in a minute. Now, the science behind telemarketing, we spoke about this at length in the opening training. Now, at the end of the day, it's just a numbers game. More people you speak with, the more pitches, the more pitches, the more appointments, the more appointments, the more money. It's no more complicated than that. And I know you guys probably heard it a million times said that way. So I'm going to give you an alternative example of how this makes sense to you, because I want you to always remember this. Think about it like going to a nightclub. If you're a guy, you're going to make 500 calls in a day. If you go to a nightclub and you ask 500 women to dance with you, how many of the 500 do you expect to say yes? Maybe 100? I'll be conservative. All right, 20%. So you dance with the 100 women, you buy them drinks, you chat them up. Out of the 100, how many are you taking home? That's the exact same thing telemarketing is. Talk to 500 people. You're going to get 100 people that are possibly interested. Out of the 100, how many people are you setting appointments for? It's the same principle. Now, at the nightclub, if you don't take any of the girls home, you're going home to take a cold shower because you're pretty worked up, aren't you? Telemarketing is the same way. If you don't get these people that are interested, cooperative and pre-qualified into setting appointments, you're going to go home hungry because you're not making money. Remember, sales is binary. Either you got the appointment and you were successful, or you didn't get the appointment and you failed. Success or failure. Those are your only two options. There is no partial pregnancy. Either you did it or you didn't do it. You were successful or you failed. To illustrate controlling the customer and leading them to where you want them to go, I'm going to share a video of Taylor McCarthy demonstrating a card trick in one of his solar training seminars. For those that don't know who Taylor McCarthy is, he's one of the top salespeople and trainers in the industry. I highly advise you to catch him on YouTube. He has YouTube videos all over the place.
Looking at it, I want you to pick one of these cards, any one of the cards, but don't look. All right, so can everybody see that card? Okay, everyone sees it. Okay, so we're going to put it back on the deck. You did not see that card, correct?
No.
Okay. So let me ask you, have you ever played cards before?
Yeah.
Have you ever played poker?
No.
You haven't, okay. And if I'm not mistaken, how many cards are there in a deck?
52.
There is, okay, 52 cards in a deck. And there's different colors in the deck. Do you know what colors those are?
Red, black, yeah, red and black.
Red and black, exactly, okay. And the red would consist of the diamonds and the hearts, and the black would consist of the clubs and the spades. If you were to pick between the red or the black, which would you choose?
The red.
The red, okay, that's a good choice. And the red would leave you with two different colors, which would be the hearts, and then you would also be left with the diamonds.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to pick between the hearts or the diamonds, which would you choose?
The hearts.
The hearts, and that would leave you with one only remaining option, which would be the diamonds, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were left with the diamonds, there's two different numbers. There's like the numbered cards, and then there's, I forget what they're called, the face cards, that's what it is. So there's number cards and there's face cards. If you were to pick between the face cards and the numbers, which would you choose?
Face cards.
Which would leave you with just the numbers remaining.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, do you like the low numbers or do you like the high numbers?
High.
High numbers, okay, that's a good choice. And if you were to define 7, 8, 9, and 10 being the high numbers, and obviously you were left with the diamonds, if you were to pick 2 between the 7, 8, 9, and 10, which would you choose?
8 and 10.
8 and 10, good choices. So you have the 8 or the 10 of diamonds. Out of those 2, which would you choose?
The 8.
Which would leave you with 1 remaining card, and what would that be?
The 10.
Of diamonds, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the card that I showed you guys?
What the fuck?
The 10 of diamonds. So the example of this is how to use, it's not a magic trick, it's effective questioning. I took his hand and I led him to the answer that I needed him to get to. He made the decision though, not me. I just led him in the direction that he needed to go. Thanks for your help, man.
Thank you.
So that's effective questioning, and that was something taught to me by Tom. And once you can understand how to utilize effective questioning, the idea is it's not magic. It's just I'm creating the decision, and that's what we call closing. If you can't create the decision, that's when buyers say no. Something called a circle of persuasion. If you watch a lot of my YouTube videos, that's how I do sales. As I go from building rapport to going into benefits to back into rapport to benefits to rapport to benefits, back to rapport to benefits, and then I work myself closer to yes. I got like Franco Harris in the backfield, and I'm handing him the ball, and he's just doing 3-yard gains every single time, and I'm running out the clock on the other team, and I'm working myself closer to the end zone.